I'm going to begin by taking a look at a pair of pants. This was a size 4 Carter's, and all of you know brands make a difference. One brand will cut them differently than another, but I'm just going to go with this pair. And mainly I chose a pair that was not stretchy. The reason being, t-shirt fabric, most t-shirts and most sweatshirts does not have a large degree of stretch. There's some, and that stretch is meant for comfort, not so that you can wear it tight and still be comfortable. So like double brush poly legging fabric we all are familiar with, that stretches 4 ways and it has a high degree of stretchability. So, you know, if you happen to be working on that kind of fabric for this project, you could start out with a much smaller garment, but I'm not. So we're talking today about just your average run-of-the-mill t-shirt or sweatshirt. All right, so let's just take a look. I turned it inside out. I put one leg inside the other so that we could see the actual crotch seam. And I want you to notice something. Do you see how the front is real shallow? The back is much deeper. And this has to do with the body shape. We all need more give in the back than we do the front. Part of it is our body structure, and the other part is that when we bend and sit, we don't want this part of the pants to pull down in order for us to be able to sit down. Okay, and we've all had pants that they have not gotten this right, and when we sit down, you know, you got plumber's crack or whatever. So we're going to try and avoid that. So we need to know that this number, if we were measuring, you know, if we drew a line here and here, that's going to be a bigger number or smaller number than a line from here to here. Okay, so I have given you a link, and you know, truly you can search for children's measurements online and find anything and everything. But anyway, I gave you a link to this chart, and since this is a size 4, which is between the purple and the green line, I can go all the way down. They do not provide, this is called the rise in pants. It's not going to be on this chart, but there are charts that have it. But I'm going to look next at this number, the inseam. So that number is from here to the end of finished hem. Okay, so you have to add, in our case, we're not going to add anything because we're working with sleeves that are finished, right? So, but if we were working with fabric, you always add your seam allowance to that inseam number. All right, now they were recommending on the chart, I was just looking at 15.5, but when I measured this pair by Carter's, their inseam is actually 16. And that could have something to do with the fact that it's a cotton, it has no give or stretch. So you're going to need a little more length in order to accommodate the body's activities, okay? All right, so that's this pair. Now I did measure the back rise, and I just called it the back crotch measurement, and it is 2 inches from here over to here, and from the crotch to the waist or the top of the garment was 8 inches. Okay, so I have a 2-inch by 8-inch area that I'm going to remove when I get to cutting, okay, on a sleeve. When I measured this, the front, it's only 1 inch. The depth is 1 inch, and the rise was 6.5 inches. So, you know, that's an 1.5 inch difference, which does make sense. Okay, so I made myself just a little card so I could keep track of that, because this is going to matter when I get to cutting out a sleeve. So let's grab a sleeve. Now, you also do need the waist measurement, only insofar as if the sleeve is not wide enough to accommodate the waist, even if it's long enough, that is not going to work for your size that you've chosen. Just go down in size, and you'll see, actually, I pulled out a few just to show you how how important it is to take a look at the sleeve before you get too carried away or committed to a size. So I have this white pear sleeve, which is longer than the black pear that's under it. I'll show you. All right, yeah, there you can see. Okay, so they're a little bit longer, and yet they're narrower. So let's see if I can lay this underneath there. You can see they're a good bit narrower. So just because they're long enough doesn't mean they're going to be wide enough. And then on sweatshirts you have similar issue. And partly sweatshirts are, there's a lot of thickness in there, so you do need some different numbers for sweatshirts. But quite a bit wider on the sweatshirt end, and actually the exact same length. So you're going to find that you're going to need several sizes in order to really utilize your pile of long sleeves. But utilize them we will. We will definitely do our best to make the largest size we can from the garment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the sleeves inside out. And try my best to get them to lay flat on the seam. And this is not really, it is not an easy task because that seam is actually not cut straight. There's a little bit of a curve to it because it's meant to accommodate our elbow. So, that's why I'm saying I'm going to do the best I can, because I can't do that perfectly. So now, if I lay them like this and I try to just, cut a curve out, I am going to have the exact same curve for the front and the back. That is not going to be a very well fitted pair of pants. Now, you can do it. I'm not going to say you can't, but I am going to say that the results will be better if you try another approach. So let's do this instead. Let's turn one sleeve right side out. I'm going to turn it back the way it was, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it down the middle of the other sleeve, and I'm going to line those seam allowances, or the seams, up with each other. I'm doing some magic down in there. All right. So far, so good. If I can find the seam. Where'd it go? Let's just shake them out. That did it. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, you won't be able to see this because my camera isn't mounted up high enough to zoom out too far, but I'm going to just get these to be the same length, and then they're going to go off your view, but that's okay. You don't really need to have that. And I'm going to turn this upside down because that's just going to make it easier for me to work with. Now, remember we talked about the inseam length. So actually, I am going to spread this back out again, and I want 16.5, and that is finished length. So we're going to go from, I've lined it up down here, and then I'm going to come all the way up here, and yes, you're seeing my light's reflection, and I'm going to go to 16.5 and make a mark. Now that is my seam, so when I cut, I need to be above that. And I'm going to be using a serger, so I really only need to be 1/4 inch above that. Now let's see if I can even get the rise that I need. I need, what was it? What did we write on our card? So we should keep that handy, right? I need an 8-inch rise from the back. Can I do it? I can't. So even though this shirt is definitely wide enough for me to get a size 4, I cannot get the rise high enough. So these would be the kind of pants that would be drooping down way too low on a child, so they wouldn't be practical for playing. So I am going to have to go look for another pair of sleeves. So what I'm going to do is grab my pile and I am just going to look for the longest pair of sleeves I've got. What do we have here? Now I did line them all up beforehand. Let's see who's hanging low. Oh, look at there. We got a pair. This should do it. So I will quickly reach in there, do the little flip and turn. And let's see how this one comes out. If this does not want to cooperate, my sample I made on a sweatshirt, which clearly was a large size sweatshirt, and so I didn't have any trouble for a size 4. But I do think that this project, you are going to find you're restricted to some pretty small pants. You're not going to really be able to make these for older kids. And by older, I mean 4 and 5. I think the 2 and 3-year-olds we may be able to serve well. All right, so I'm going to get the sleeve lined up. And I'm going to do that same little trick. I'm going to measure up from the bottom and see where 16.5 gets me. So I suppose you could always try making a few they'll just be a little bit shorter. They won't be, the full inseam length. You could try that and see what happens. So we need a 16.5. I'm going to just go to 16 just to cheat a little bit. Put my pin. All right. Now let's see. Can I get to... No. It is a bit of a curve. So maybe... Wow. No. So we're going to do this. We are going to grab my... I believe I have a size 2 or 3. Sorry, this is a 3T. Yeah, 3T. And the only trouble is these are a cute little pair of pedal pushers. We called them that when I was growing up. So I cannot trust the manufacturer's inseam. That is not a full inseam. But if I go back to this chart and I look at a 3T, that says 13. Oh, look at that, 15.5. So, sorry, I'm just regrouping. Carter's used a 16-inch seam allowance, or inseam, and the standard is 15.5. So possibly I could go back and remeasure. Let me try it. Why not? Let's see what happens. If I go back to the blue, which I really wanted, and let's use 15.5. That moves me down to here. I think that was enough to fix the problem. So you can see this isn't just, like a pillowcase dress. Grab the pillowcase and cut. You've got to do a little bit of verifying first. Well, I'm going to get to a 7.5. But then I have to have the turn down. So what I could do on this pair is, rather than doing a turn down waist, I could add a belly band, and then that will totally make this pair of pants fit beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to do that. So now, what do you do from here? I'd like to say that you could just simply take a template, lay it on here, and cut. But I tried that approach and it did not work because you also have to consider how wide this was. So on my sweatshirt, remember the maroon sweatshirt? Well, of course, this one isn't all that much wider, but it is wider than this sleeve. So you really can't just go by doing something here. You also have to know what's going on out here. So we know we need a waist for a size 4. The waist needs to be 18. So if I fold this like so, and this represents 1/4, so 18 divided by 4 is not a nice number. 4.5, I think. 4.5, 9, yeah. So 4.5. So that's excellent. 4.5 gets into here. We're going to cut into here somewhere, and that gives us a nice amount of ease. So this is plenty wide enough. We put our minds to rest on that. Now, if you are a scissor happy person, you might want to just slide something inside here so as to not cut your other fabric. Okay, so what we can do, I'm going to take a black marker, and let's just decide that this is going to be the back and this is going to be the front. All right, I need to come 1 inch over for the front, and I need to get over to 2 inches, but I'm not going to make a square bottom, so I'm going to make my 2-inch mark up here. And remember, this is my sewing line, so I'm actually going to cut right about here because I'm using a serger. Okay, I'll go like that. See if you can see that. Now, so this really, when we get up here at the waistline, I know I need 4.5. That is curious. All right, so we're going to go, let's go with our 2-inch right here. And we're just going to make a gentle curving. And from there, I'll go ahead and use the ruler. My hand is not the most trustworthy. It goes crazy sometimes. Okay, so that line's going to look a little like that. For the front crotch, we're just coming in that little ways, and then we're coming up straight. Okay, so that's how that's going to look. You're going to find, I believe, when you measure most children's wear up to size 4, that 1 inch to the front and 2 inches to the back is going to be very typical. So, I think you can use that as your standard. What will vary is the direction. I went straight up because I need to preserve my width. But on the sweatpants, I started out like that. This is the cut I actually made on the sweatpants. I ended up having to go back in and remove all of this on both sides. So in other words, what that did was move my line from here out like that, which in a benefit to doing that, the distance from this point to this point is much shorter than the distance from here to here. This is going to be longer out here. So if I've got a shirt that isn't quite long enough, I can gain some length by moving my line over here. All right, so now that I want to make sure I have my seams on top of each other because these do get sewn to each other, so they need to line up. Okay, I'm going to cut. And I'm not, you'll notice I'm not really worrying just yet about the top up here where it's really a mess, isn't it? I don't need to worry about it just yet. I'll straighten that up when I've got this seam all stitched up. Okay, so this just helped me not to accidentally cut down in here. So the beauty of this project is really you sew this seam and then you're ready to do the waist belly band or waistband, you know, whatever you've decided you're finishing it out with. Now, I don't have a lot of choice. I have to do the belly band. So I am going to remove this little bit because I don't want to have my serger have to jump up over all that extra bulk. All right. Meet me at the serger.